What is the craziest encounter of rich kid syndrome that you have experienced? I lived with 5 guys and I was the only one whose parents weren't millionaires. Not clothes at all. They never cleaned. About once a month I would deep clean the house, but 2 days later there was garbage and food on the floor. I found out they all told their parents the poor kid made all the messes when one of their moms came by to scream at me. Not scathing like most of the ones on here. I grew up attending a private school in a developing country, so a lot of my classmates were in the 1% of the country. Whenever we'd be swimming in the school pool, one friend of ours in particular would always remark that swimming is more fun if the pool has a current or waves. To which I had no idea what he was talking about and generally thought he was just being imaginative. One day he invited me over to his house for swimming and he had a 50-foot indoor pool that generated a current waves. He wasn't lying. They are a lot more fun. My college roommate's mom gave him F-king $1,400 for the weekend just randomly. He blew through the whole thing by Saturday, asked his mom for more money and was screaming at her because she promised $1,400 for the weekend and he spent most of what she gave him on Friday, which isn't a part of the weekend. Knew a trust fund girl whose dad gave her the money to start a company. She lost it when she went on vacation for 6 months and forgot she was supposed to pay her employees all the time. She assumed they would not get paid for 6 months and be there when she got back. I quizzed her on this for a few minutes and it was clear she had no idea what a job was. Good friend of mine. My dad bought me a house and now I can't buy a house of my own. Stamp duties here are insane to prevent rich people from driving up property prices. Close bracket. Although I have to say that I really respect my friend very much for his desire to actually step out of his dad's shadow. Look up Corona Del Mar High School cheating scandal. Happened at my school. Parents paid around $50,000 apiece to have a tutor bug the school computers and change students' grades. They all lawyered up big time when it came out and all the kids got off free and all made it into their top 3 schools. I would also like to add that this made the news. And all the parents whined that their children were innocent and just had a bad tutor. Had a girl I went to school with total 4 brand new cars. Think Range Rover, Escalade, etc. I was also in a class with this girl when the teacher handed out papers that needed to be signed by a parent. And she signed it herself and tried to turn it in the same period as it was handed out and freaked out when the teacher wouldn't accept it. Kids who would talk shitty and pick fights and then turn around and say, "If you touch me my dad will sue." There are a lot more. Girl I went to high school with got a Mercedes for her 16th birthday. Bitched and moaned about the fact that she didn't get a Lexus. Because her name was Lexi and she thought it would be so cool for Lexi to drive a Lexus with a custom license plate saying Lexi. Her parents did cave and buy her a Lexus for her 17th birthday. My college roommate threw a massive tantrum. Like on the floor screaming and crying. Because her parents got her a used big ass truck for graduation. It was a 2013 truck with less than 10k miles that was fully upgraded, loaded with every possible add-on. We graduated in 2014. The car was maybe a year old. She already had a 2009 Range Rover. A friend I met at uni flew from Auckland to London for a week to go shopping. Clothes were cheaper in London. So to him it made sense. His parents were from Singapore and had no idea just how much cheaper cars were in New Zealand. So when he said he needed $70k for a Toyota Corolla, they gave him the money and he bought a used BMW M3. When he went home for the summer he asked if I could mind the car for him. Given his dad had pretty much cut him off at that point, he just said I had to pay for insurance on it and I could treat it like my own. But as a 19-year-old sharing a flat and barely getting by, there was no way I could cover the cost of insurance, let alone petrol. This happened a couple of weeks ago at the Infiniti dealership. I was in the waiting room with a very well-dressed lady for our loaner cars. She left the waiting room to look at her loaner and came back crying. She said she drives a fully loaded QX80 and they gave her a QX60 with nothing in it. I said sorry that happened and asked how long she was going to have the loaner for. She said a couple of hours. I wanted to tell her to suck it up, but instead I sat there quiet thinking how life must be easy for her to cry over a loaner car. A Saudi guy in the UK got in a crash with light damage to one side of brand new Mercedes. He called for one of his assistants to come get him, even though the car was fully drivable. My friend rolled up on call with his tow truck and asked the guy where he wanted the MRC towed. The guy gave him the keys and said keep it. I don't want it. Damn, I need to befriend some Saudi princes. Girl got a 2-year-old Range Rover for her 17th. Now 20 and still doesn't have her license. I used to have a friend who would constantly say I love when my dad gives me money. And if I ask for a certain amount of money, my parents always give me $50 extra. Full stop. This girl then bought an apartment, boasting about it on Facebook and how proud she was of herself, how at 23 she was able to afford a home at such a young age all on her own. Still makes me want to face plant into a pile of jagged rocks. A girl in my school was surprised by her parents in the school's parking lot with a new BMW. A freaking BMW. Everyone who is out is basically watching this go down and she starts crying. At first we are all thinking it's because she's so happy, but then she runs back into the school. Apparently they were supposed to show up earlier, I'm assuming when there would be more students to witness the surprise. I felt bad for the dad because he looked totally embarrassed and sad about it. You know, in his head he's like, I created this monster. Semicolon. Dad bought his college-age daughter a house in a very nice neighborhood so that she and her friends could live rent-free while they attended university. He remodeled the entire house. In all, he probably spent close to $2 million. 2 weeks after moving in, they left a candle burning while they went to the store to get snacks for a football game. Came home and the house was on fire. A month later, it was good and new for them to move back in. Not exactly rich kid syndrome. But there was this family that had 2 children who attended the elementary school that was connected to my middle school. Every day the 2 parents would leave the house and drive separately to pick up their 2 kids before returning home. I should mention at this point that they each drove a Lamborghini. One black and one orange. Back to back in the pickup line to get their kids from elementary school. At first I thought they were just being showy. But then I realized that they were 2-seaters. So this was really the only way to do it. My personal favorite was in college. Kids down the hall from me bought a brand new Fender Stratocaster and played with it for a day and got bored and sold it to me, case and all, for $20. I still have it and play it 15 years later. It's a great guitar. I had a scholarship to private school for my secondary education. 11-18. We were by no means poor. But compared to the people who were paying full school fees, I was a peasant. The vast majority of the students were wealthy. And about half of them were spoiled little brats. Most of the kids got given cars for their 17th birthday in anticipation of passing their driving tests. One boy in particular in my year had a September birthday. So was one of the first to take his test. And he had a huge house garden. So he already knew how to drive. You can drive on private land at any age here. Close bracket. On the day he passed his test, he got dropped off back at his school in his shiny new sports car. I don't know what type it was. I jaff about cars. But everyone else seemed impressed. He picked up a couple of friends to go for a spin. And before he got 100 meters up the road, he completely wrecked the F-King car. His dad bought him a new one the next day and he complained that it was the wrong color. Had a kid that lived across the hall from me my freshman year of college from Honduras. During one of the icebreakers after freshman move-in, he leaned to me to ask if I knew when the maids came to make his bed clean. I guess his family was very well off in his home country and the entire semester was an eye-opener for him in actually taking care of himself. First day as a librarian in a private school. Help a 7-year-old with the printer. He offers to tip me. I like this one because he is not a snot. He's just trying to be polite. There was this rich kid in our class who was literally disgusted by us buying used stuff, like computer parts, on eBay. Once during conversation I said I bought on eBay memory module for my PC and said to me that I should have a little dignity. And if I buy used stuff I should keep it to myself. I know a garbage man that works in rich neighborhoods and takes out trash around move out time for the uber rich kid university. Every year he finds 200-300 game consoles, the newest ones, and sometimes desktop PCs. The kids don't want to take them home. They just throw them all out. He makes a good 40k a year on eBay. He just cleans stuff up and sells it. Nice supplementary income. This one is kinda mild I guess, but goes to show how clueless wealthy kids can be. Completely unaware of the disparity between them and average income people. Anyways, he picked me up in a new $85,000 sports car one day. The newest Corvette special edition model fresh off the line. I said, holy shit dude, your car is incredible. He said he wished everyone knew he had to work a full month with his grandfather and earned it himself. I was in a theology class where we were talking about compromises. Teacher: what are some compromises your parents have made? Very rich girl: my mom wanted to go to Hawaii and my dad wanted to go to Mexico, so we went to the Bahamas instead. Semicolon. Going to private school makes life full of these stories. Like earlier this week when I asked why this girl who I sit by was gone. Her friend then told me she's skipping this week because she wanted to go to the Bruno Mars and Pitbull concert in Hawaii. Semicolon. Or another one, last year this girl got too stressed out with school so she went to Lithuania with her dad for a month. I have no idea how she made up all her school work. I watched rich kids of Instagram on YouTube and I'm still recovering. Kids trying to straight up bribe bouncers and even police officers. This is less surprising when you realize they were international students from rich families where bribes are common expected. Thankfully, they'd learn really quick to not do that. I had two friends in college who were from UAE. They were brothers, and their parents were sending them to school in the US. They were actually pretty cool and down to earth, if not a good bit weird. They knew I didn't have a ton of money and couldn't afford to do the cool stuff they did, so they covered me all the time. Crazy stuff, like renting a private plane to go to a concert, black cars with drivers, expensive dinners and exclusive clubs. On the weird side, they slaughtered a goat in the bathtub to make a traditional Arabian dinner, and they wore far too much draka. I had a UAE friend like this. He rented out a bar for a frat party, his birthday party, and asked why I wasn't drinking the free beer. Oh, I have celiac so I can't. It's no big deal really. Oh no, everyone gets provided for. He opened me a tab and ordered me GF food. Edit. Thanks for the gold. Morning sickness has been an all-day battle for me and that was unexpected. GF family is wealthy. She's working her way to it. But she was waiting to get a chance for a promotion, and the words "I cannot believe anyone would make somebody work for almost a year to get a promotion" came out of her mouth. And I laughed. There's a lot of rich kids in my particular business program in university. I met this one girl a few months ago at a social. We were chatting a bit about our program and she proudly told me about how she threatens to sue the school whenever things don't go her way. She also said something to the effect of, they have to take the threat seriously because they know I actually have the means to follow through, haha. I studied abroad during school, and my class had a super rich kid. One day he stops showing up to class but still meets up with us after class for beer. When we eventually asked why, he said he was done going to class, and that he was going to sue the school and have his dad stop making donations, but didn't want to talk about why. Everyone made fun of him and he stopped coming to meet us after class for the rest of the semester. Came to find out that one of the foreign professors sexually assaulted him one night when he was drunk. It's been a decade, and I feel terrible. Girl at work told me she hated her dad. I asked why. She said he keeps asking for money since she used his credit card for a Euro trip and left him an 80 grand bill from last year. 80 grand credit card bill for a vacation? Holy FCK. Edit. I can see how, but it still seems like you have to try to unless your trip is really long. Although I don't know what I would expect from someone whose dad has a $80 K plus credit card limit. That's levels of FCKU money I've never put thought into. Ex-girlfriend's friend said to me, "Can you believe there are people who have never been on a private jet? UHH. Yeah. I'm one of them." A 14-year-old in full volume cursing meltdown, where the FCKZ? Because the pilot of the private helicopter that had brought him they had gone off to get a cup of coffee. The kid was done skiing for the day and found it totally unacceptable that he had to wait 10 minutes before he got flown home. That poor pilot. I hope he wasn't fired over a cup of coffee. When I was in college, a friend that was heavy in the frat life told me about a freshman that got kicked out for having a servant flown to town to do the hazing chores he was supposed to do. Don't talk to him. Funny short story. My ex-wife used to drive a 1998 Honda Accord. She treated it like shitty, and so one day I got into it to drive somewhere and I noticed that it was falling apart. I had two options. Junkyard or sell it. And so I put it on Craigslist for $250. I thought it could go to a low-income family that had someone with some know-how who could semi-restore it. But when I meet the buyer, he was not who I expected. He pulled up in a brand new Escalade and told me that his son was spoiled. His son had crashed a BMW, Mercedes, and an Audi, and so he was done buying him nice cars. Turns out, this guy purchased my car as a way of torturing his son. Edit. Hot damn. I even got Reddit silver as a result of selling that car. Thank you for the coin, stranger. Second edit. Of course this edit is to give a shout out to whoever gave me gold. Thank you. 3. 2 years on Reddit and 47k in karma later and I got my first gold. Cheers. I went to college with a guy who totaled 5 Mustangs in a year. I don't think he was sober enough to remember any of them. At least he doesn't give up. I work in a jail. I always love when someone gets arrested and comes in screaming. Do you know WHO my dad, mom, grandpa, uncle is? He'll buy your entire jail. It's even better when their dad, mom, grandpa, uncle refuses to come bond them out. A girl had me go in and buy her 6 cartons of cigarettes cause she didn't want to get out of the car cause she didn't want her nails broken. Said I could buy whatever I wanted. Easily what I made a week after taxes gone in seconds. Edit. Switched packs to cartons. Semicolon. Similar experience in college. I'm 21. She's 20. I'm buying liquor. Gives me her daddy's credit card and a specific list of liquors and wines for a party she's having. Get yourself whatever you want. I settled for a 6er of Guinness. Her response. That's it? You can go back in. Daddy won't care. From a lower class background and got into a top university in the UK where I joined the scuba club. I'm an instructor. Paid for all my training and kit myself, but damn. You could see my kit had been well used. Still safe and functional. Just faded. Frayed around the edges, etc. One of the senior members, so he must have been nearly mid-20s, pointed out how beaten one items of kit looked and asked why I didn't replace it. I was genuinely confused. It worked. It was safe. All good to keep using in my books. He kept pointing out how it looked and I point blank told him I didn't have you a cute 500 to drop on something just because what I had didn't look pretty anymore. He then asked why didn't I just ask my parents to buy me a new one. Yes. Because in my 20s, after having worked part or full time for 7 years, I will totally ask my single parent on disability benefits to buy me new toys. The guy was completely baffled. Sitting in a group discussion in college and having one kid whine that his parents were so disadvantaged that they only brought home $500k a year 20 years ago. I sat there and kept quiet. Because my family only had $30k a year. I was only there because of scholarships and financial aid. The worst thing is all of the sympathy this kid got from the other people in the class. The school was so proud of their racial diversity. But 95% of the students came from families in the top 1% of income.